This is Power 102 Digital Friday. Hard Talk starts now with hosts, the Founders Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, I said hosts, Rondell Fields and Shervon. They are here on set with me. And the topic today, justice for Anson Mohammed. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having us, Mark.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Hey, good afternoon, Shervon. Good to see you, bro. Glad to see you
Afternoon,
back in the
brother.
country safe.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Yeah, man. I know. I think it was your birthday yesterday.
Yes, yeah, yep.
Yeah. I mean, we must wish you a happy birthday.
Yes,
And I
man.
mean,
Happy
God's
birthday,
blessings
bro.
upon you.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
man. And continue life, man. Continue life. We know Wendell held it down, Shervon, last week. I know he had a discussion, a heated discussion as well as he always does. This week, we really want to focus, as you would have heard the title, Justice for Mr. Anson Mohammed. I know you may have had plans for other things, but um, I don't know if you remember Mr. Anson Mohammed at all, Shervon, and his
Yes, yeah, I
issues
remember.
and his case
Yeah,
and what we dealt with. And
yeah.
I only got the information of the passing of his passing this week, and I mean, I think it was so pertinent for us to yet again, yes, I know you would say Shervon, possibly even Mark by now, possibly even some of the other talk show hosts that have interviewed us about the number of times we have reiterated on particular issues, particularly issues like what Mr. Mohammed suffered when it comes to certain injustices and certain shortfalls of the legal system or certain shortfalls of the legislative works, rather, when it comes to child maintenance, particularly in his case, where he had become disabled thereafter uh, having have had maintenance order placed against him earlier on in his life. And just to go a little recap for those who just listening and may not know who Mr. Anson Mohammed was, Mr. Anson Mohammed was a gentleman who was a truck driver, took care of his family. He had a maintenance order for another son that he had in a previous relationship. I think that was his ex-wife at the point in time. And he would have gotten ill somewhere after COVID, about 3 years ago from about 3 years ago, he would have gotten ill and been diagnosed with renal failure and heart failure, all at the same point in time. A catheter, you'd have been given a catheter for him to have to do dialysis, for him to have to do certain feeding processes and these kind of things. And he would have been attempting on his own for over a year and a half to have his case heard and to have his maintenance dismissed. He would have gone before a magistrate, and after going before the magistrate, he would have been turned away by the said magistrate. The magistrate looked at him and told him she saw two hands. This is his exact words. This is the exact words to us based on what he said the magistrate said to him. He said, she said, you have two hands and you have 2 feet. I don't see why you cannot at least answer a phone so you could find yourself a job. I ain't taking the fact that you tell me you're on a disability grant. I'm not taking the fact that I could see that you have a catheter. I'm not taking the fact that you're producing documents to me that state that you have only 12% of your heart operational. I'm not taking the fact that you're presenting to me documentations that showing that your creatinine levels must be skyrocketing because your kidney has totally collapsed and totally failed. And you have, in other words, to clean your blood, take dialysis. I'm not taking the fact that you're showing me all the appointments for your dialysis as well. I am still going to tell you that we at the court cannot facilitate you until we hear what the mother has to say. The mother, I know when I had spoken to her, I know she was saying that sometimes she wasn't served, she didn't come to court, and these kind of things. However, his claim was the mother, even though was still taking out warrants against him, even though she knew that he was not well and knew that he was unemployed and knew that he couldn't work. And the thing is, Shervon, to me, let me ask you, I know because I've been talking about it for the entire week. Let me ask you and get your perspective on it. What do you think could have been done? Or do you think anything could have been done seeing that the mother was not coming to court? Do you think anything could have been done seeing that he had come to the court even in the absence of the mother?
So we have seen, and good afternoon again, Trinidad and Tobago. Glad to be back. And we have seen, Rondell, several cases, not just the situation of maintenance, but cases where persons are attempting to have service conducted. And for whatever reason, right? Sometimes it may be to the best efforts of the TTPS, who normally will go out and serve warrants and summons and those things, that they cannot locate the person. And I'm thinking in this situation, I'm no attorney. I just want to use common sense in this situation, right?
Right.
You know, you seeing this lady applying for warrants. So which means she contacting the court to apply for these warrants, right? The police, though, nonetheless, according to the law, the police has to serve her as someone started in court. So she's in communication with the court to get the warrant. The police saying they can't get one to her, Rondell. There are a few options here. One, if you see warrants being applied for, you could, I would think, ask the court staff, ask the court to reach out to this lady, right? Or provide the contact information that this lady have because she come into contact in the court to get warrants and give it to the police so that they can communicate with her to reach it, right? Again, common sense. Or so stop the maintenance. And if you stop the maintenance, I am sure, Rondell, at some point in time, you would see her appear, right? Because she wants to get the maintenance, and now you'll be able to address the matter if that is the case, right? And thirdly, if you have the documents, right, of this man's ailments, you see in the presentation of this man's ailments and the issues that he's facing, we have seen before, Rondell, and this happens a lot in domestic violence cases, where orders are made what is called ex parte, right? Where orders are made without the other party being present, right? So we have seen these things, so that I am saying from a common sense perspective, there seems to be options, and it cannot be that the letters in the law is used to weigh down people and tie them down and do injustice to them. That cannot be the case, right? So if it said it's worded in such a way, but you still have to use some judgment to get around the issue at the end of the day, to get to the heart of the matter at the end of the day.
Correct. And the thing that troubled me is what he was told by the magistrate as well. We know as well that we have dealt with other persons before who have come to us who have had disability grants. And then one of the things that you know, and is legislated actually, that if you're on a disability grant, you cannot have an income more than $1,000 a month, more than $12,000 annually. So most people are not allowed to work because you can lose a disability grant. I don't know if you remember the case of the father whose house had burned down, I think somewhere in Claxton Bay, and he had one leg, and they was going to take the grant from him because they heard that he would, and we had to come in and support him on that same very case.
I think you're selling something outside his home.
Selling fruits outside his house, and for selling fruits outside his house, they had an issue with that. Much less for a magistrate to tell him, go and work. So now the only type of income he had, which he already had to use for his upkeep, his wife's upkeep, his new wife's upkeep, and manage with his daughter on a grant, a disability grant, right? You are now telling him to put that at risk. And that is what I have a challenge with. Is it that the magistrate didn't know? Is it that the magistrate knew and was being further malicious? Is it that she just didn't care? She was just apathetic in the whole issue and said the first thing that came out of her mouth? But the issue is, we cannot allow this to continue to happen. We cannot allow it to continue to happen, Shervon. we should never have to. Thankfully, his cousin reached out to us and we went down to Rio Claro and we highlighted the scenario, and we were then able to get a lawyer, Amelia Mohammed, whose uncle went through something similarly, to pay it forward, her good service forward pro bono, to represent Mr. Mohammed in the court, to then go to another magistrate to have the same issue dismissed that could have been dismissed years ago. It should not have to come to that just because somebody felt on that day not to do anything. So
Yeah.
is it or has it come to the point that if we believe, as they say, if judges cannot use their discretion, is it now the politician to blame, or the parliamentarian rather than the politician, who must or should be so in touch with the ground that they are constantly making suggestions or constantly making revisions of the law so that it best fits and suits society, so that there is no injustice perpetrated upon the citizenry? Do we hold them responsible? Because the judges may say, well, hey, what you wanted me to do, how the child going to eat? I cannot automatically order the child to go to social welfare and know the child is going to get public assistance. You understand? So is it a place now that we have reached where it should be enshrined or legislated that persons who fall on hard times or fall on infirmity, rather more so, where they are now rendered unable to work, whereas a board from the Board of State and Social Welfare has agreed that the medical certificate that has come to them is sufficient evidence that they should be on a disability grant, it should it immediately trigger the dismissal of any maintenance order, the dismissal of any warrant attached to it, even if it is warrants that have accrued 100,000. Because whether it's 100,000 or 1,000, he can't pay it now anyhow. And should it also trigger his dependents to automatically be in receipt of public assistance? Should we throw it in the arms of the legislators if we are not seeing the discretion of the judges? What's your take on that, Shervon?
Well, it has to be one, but there's two things, even before we go to the legislation. One of the things we've spoken about over the years is, firstly, family matters should not be in the magistrate courts anymore, right?
True.
And it is not a free pass to the family court. We've said that before. There are things in the family court that need to be corrected as well, but we ain't throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That is the place we have to build upon. But family matters are not for the magistrate courts, right? And Mr. Mohammed's case was in the magistrate's court. And quite a number of calls we get, Rondell, and strange things that we see happening come out of the magistrate courts.
Correct.
It is not the place for family matters to be heard. And we know that family court has been, well, we had the first family court in Port of Spain, then we had the family court open in Tobago, and we have now the family court in Princestown. And you were told, because you attended the opening of the family court in Tobago, of the plans to roll out the family court to the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. That has been years ago. Right?
Correct.
And so we need that. That has to be completed, because we will continue to get these kind of situations where persons are not specially trained to deal with these types of individuals at the end of the day. Right? You have built a relationship over the let's say the last 6-7 years or so with the family court and the executive family court, right? You have shared with me over the years your struggle to do that with the wider judiciary.
Right? Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Again, it's because of how it's not suited for that. Right?
Agreed.
The magistrate court is now focused on criminal and traffic court matters. That is the focus of the magistrate court. So we should not have family matters inside of there. Right? Now, we do that firstly, step one. Now we can start to deal with discretion because our master and our judge has some more weight in the eyes of the law in terms of in their decision-making process, right? But then, Rondell, and not to go too far, but I just pitching it here so we could come back to it at some point. This also speaks to what we have been hammering home as well. The overhaul of how we deal with maintenance in the courts in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? Correct. That needs to be overhauled completely. We cannot continue. Yes, we here and we say to men on the Telegram group, we say to Facebook, but everybody don't get the message about what to do facing this with maintenance, what to do here and then this and that. They don't. We need to overhaul that system. We know we're in that time now. There are some people who don't pay maintenance because they're worthless. Right? We know that. But then there are people who are either they lost their job, the business slow down, they get injured, they get disabled, all of these things. And they don't know what to do. And how many calls do we get like Mr. Mohammed where people don't know what to do? Maintenance warrants pile up on them. Correct. Right? Somebody tell them, call Mr. Fields, call the Fathers Association. Correct. Right? No, we shouldn't just be issuing warrants. It shouldn't just be, hey, pay this and then pay that. We locking up and training. We have said that makes no sense economically. It makes no sense socially. It makes no sense to the development of the child. It makes no sense in none of those regards.
Gentlemen, let me say hi to Richie Mohammed. He said, keep up the good work, Mr. Fields, Victoria Batten, and Christine Sahadeo. I have a call on the line. Good afternoon.
Nice, man.
Afternoon,
good afternoon, Mr. Cyril.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
You forget me?
No. How can I forget you, girl?
Yeah, because the last time I called, you didn't even acknowledge me.
Oh,
anyway, here's what I want to say. It is high-class wickedness to treat people with a disability, to give them that small amount of money, and they very well know it cannot sustain them. So why don't they look at the people's expenditure? You have to water it, you have light bill, right? If somebody goes out trying to help themselves, what is so wrong with that? They know very well cost of living is very high in this country. Why don't they give them the disability grant also along with the food, the card? Why they can't give them the grant and also give them the card for food?
Food card.
I don't understand when the small man, the poor man, trying to make a living, a little livelihood, selling something in front of his gate or by the road. How much money you think he could make from that? How much? High class robbery in this place. Yes, is one set of people making everything and some not getting nothing at all. Anyway, you keep up the good job, eh?
I appreciate it. And I mean, just think about it. And the thing that I remember, Shervon, when I asked him how it made him feel, boy, being in this position, the thing that came out his mouth, and I was looking at that video again, and tears come to my eye. He said, boy, I feel worthless. I feel like I don't worth nothing again because I was this provider. I was this truck driver when I driving my truck going, and little children when they see daddy going with the truck, daddy is everything. I go pick up a juice when I'm coming home. I could bring something for my wife when I'm coming home. I paying my bills, I paying my maintenance all the time when I was well. But as soon as terminal illness hit me, this is not a cough, this is terminal illness. This is an illness giving you a limited time to live. You could not find empathy from a magisterial officer to say, hey, the thing that I am most concerned about is possibly this man getting the opportunity in the window of life that he had. Shervon, we didn't know he was going to die this year. I talked to him about 2 weeks ago. Earlier this year when we highlighted this issue, I was not suspecting. When I see how cheerful he was, even though he was going through what he was going through, I had no clue he would have passed away. Not as yet. And the fact that magistrate, and I hope that magistrate, and that's why I shared the video over, because I want the magistrates and them to see their judgments, and even though she didn't make a judgment, it was sort of a judgment anyhow by her inaction. Because right now, those warrants up to his death were still hanging over his head. So even though we got the maintenance order stopped, so no more could accrue, the police, if they wanted this warrants, was committal warrants, to come and pick him up and carry him straight to prison. If those police didn't do that, and possibly they didn't do it because they saw that we made it public, and if they had done it, people might have said, "Oh, you could carry a man who heart has failed, who on dialysis to a penitentiary." So they said, "Hey, it don't make sense to serve this warrant against him." The warrants hung over his head. About a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, he calling me, "Mr. Fields, the warrant still around." The warrant man called me in the last months of the man's life, boy. That could never be right. Do you know the psychological trauma that somebody who has terminal illnesses go through, boy? Not knowing the day exactly when they're going to die. They get up today thinking, can you imagine the anxiety the brain is put under, knowing that you have a terminal illness? That in itself is a mental battle. In instances like this, Shervon, I always believe, and I don't care if there's a magistrate and they're not in the family court. You have and I understand they may not have the so-called training, but you are a human being. You are not a magistrate, Shervon. I am not a magistrate either. But the average man could see his fellow brother going through pressure. And if you have the power to do something about it, she had the mandate to do it. Magistrates like these should be terminated, in my view. And that is our problem. We do not hold people accountable for bad behavior. So they will continue to do it. I am so good. I'm going to say before good that I am at least grateful that we intervened, Shervon, and that the mother did come around. Because I was upset with the mother, because I banned it out open to everything here. Because all the time, while she was taking out the warrants, according to him, when I spoke to her the first day, she told me the child was on public assistance already. But he didn't know that. So I must say that I was upset in the first place that warrants being taken out on the child on public assistance. That wasn't right. And I told her that wasn't right, because I can't come and say I thank her only. Because I do thank her eventually, because she said, "Mr. Fields," she spoke to her current husband, and he and all admonish her, "You need to go and help him get out of the situation. You need to get your son back involved in his life. Forget what all he had. And this is the man on his last breath." And she did come around and do it. But even mothers, you cannot be so bitter sometimes too. You can't be so unfair sometimes. If you know you're getting public assistance, then you should aid the person who's getting that warrant off of their shoulder. You shouldn't even take that getting the maintenance order, off their shoulder. You should never take out a warrant. The warrant don't take out itself. You have to go and take it out. How you could do that when you know a man is sick and ailing? So we can't just jam the magistrate alone. That's the honest truth, Shervon. We can't.
It's an overall failure.
So
it's
we
a overall failure. It's a failure by many people involved in the process. Yeah.
So we have to speak to mothers and custodial parents as well. If you see your past person in a true predicament, how you could take out a warrant against them, knowing the consequence of non-payment of that, knowing that you're getting a public assistance grant because you made known that they are sick. That is why the child was on public assistance, the boy. I still say that I thank her, because she could have gone down the road playing handball. Just don't care, because she didn't help us when we already would have gotten the maintenance stopped, and she couldn't help. She could not help when it came to the part of the warrant. we'd have to carry him to high court for that. But the best, or at least the main thing that she did, at least, and I'm grateful to her for, is allow him access to the boy. I was so happy when I spoke to him and he said, Mr. Fields, my son come, we went, I think he said they went to the mall or they went out. I think that he overnighted, or if I remember the last conversation I had with Anson. So I knew at least the mother would have allowed him to get involved in the child life. I saw he took a picture with him, and to me, he told me he didn't see him for years. So if it's just for that, I was thankful. But at the end of the day, mothers in those situations, you had to be mindful. If you know that your ex, no matter what happened between two of you, no matter how bad or wicked you thought he was, you cannot do that. And if you see the picture with him and his son and how happy they look, his son and his daughter. That is the last picture I see on his profile before he died.
But
we really have to. Go ahead, bro.
You're saying that he was a gentleman that maintained his child prior to being ill, right? And this is where, again, you expect people to use common sense, right? Biznat, Nisa, and Lenore, thank you all for joining the program today. We've seen your comments online. Lenore said those women behave that way because they are being encouraged by the court. And that's why we say it need to be. And you see, you ask the question up front, should it be legislated? And I agree.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's human beings leaving these things in the hands, though, right? And
Correct.
we see time and time again, right, what human beings could give.
True.
Right? But I go back to this man was taking care of his child, as you said, right? So you're telling me the gentleman taking care of his child all the time, and then Bram, you see the money stop, and I am sure based on the type of gentleman this is, he would have communicated to you why the money stopped.
Correct.
You tell me at that point in time, we can use better judgment there. And this is not just Mr. Mohammed case, you know, because we just see this throughout.
Correct,
right?
boy.
We just see this throughout. You're getting, there are women who say to us, because we communicate with women as well, and there are mothers who say to us, he does see about the child, you know, but.
Right?
And then they go and get a whole set of other story behind that but.
Mm-hmm.
And that ties into Lenore's statement that they've been encouraged. The system is allowing people to do this. And you've said this before. If the system don't allow it, people wouldn't feel empowered to take advantage of it and abuse it when they're hurt, when they're emotionally distraught and all of those things. But the system allows them to do it. The system allows them to go and lie and say they were abused. And when they get make out that there was no abuse, there's no consequence. The system allows them to lie and say that died the child father, and when the DNA test come back and say it is not, there's no consequence. The system allows it. The system allows you to withhold your child from the other parent. Don't let them get access. And when you come to court, when they find you, they wrap you on your knuckles and say, stop doing that. And you get to do that 100 times over. The system allows it.
Correct, Shervon. And that is it. And I made that point this morning. Why you don't think, or why do you think that possibly we are seeing men responding more violently? If you are seeing that many men are taking non-violent approaches to scenarios, and those non-violent approaches is not bearing fruit, they're already frustrated, some already depressed, some already ignorant, because they have ignorant people. What do you think it's going to lead to? If this man would have said to himself, I done that already, and this woman make me suffer, and this woman have police coming and look for me, I can enjoy the rest of my life, I go in and dead. And decide to tell she girl, come home by me now, let me talk. Thank God he never did that. And decided to do something out of his character. And then say, hey, I done dead anyhow. And end his life right after. the justice system would have played a part or contributed to that happening. That is my statement. Because if somebody is trying to use the right avenue, and sometimes, and when he go to choose the right avenue, Shervon, he only wasn't refused, you know. He was emasculated. They are embarrassed. They are belittled. Adding fire to the fuel. So if there was hurt when they was going to court, they now angry because of how the magistrate talked to them, about what they say to them, about the fact they couldn't be empathetic to them. They're now angry and hopeless. You know the kind of monster you could breed with those things I'm speaking about there? No matter how good a character that person is, no matter how upstanding a citizen that person was, women and all could turn evil if that happened to them. That is the reality of it. And as I said, this is not something that has happened only to Mr. Mohammed. We dealt with the case with Amelia's uncle in Faizabad. 2 strokes. The man maintained the child from 12 years to 24 years, paying maintenance, because his maintenance was extended beyond 18 because she was doing tertiary education. Could you believe the big woman wanted to go back to further education, and the magistrate was ready now, after the man had now gotten 2 strokes later on in his life, to extend the maintenance for 3 more years? We had to go to Faizabad, as you know, Shervon, highlight the man's scenario. An old Indian man can barely walk for himself. 2 strokes. The magistrate ready to extend the maintenance for 3 further years on a big woman, 24 years old. You could imagine that? A big grown woman they were going to give a order to a big grown woman upon a man who had 2 strokes. Child maintenance for a grown woman. That could never be right. And the only reason it didn't happen is because we highlighted it. We got the transcript and put it out there. We publicized what they were going to do this man. So much that the magistrate, he had to leave because of the things he even said in the video. And not the video, sorry. The things he said in the transcript of the court matter. The way he belittled the man. The way he ostracized him. How that could be happening? The way he verbally abused him. That's what the magistrate did to that gentleman. I could remember Mr. Baino. Mr. Baino came out of his car on the highway to save a man's life who was knocked down and then got knocked down by a next car. Put on a disability grant in enterprise on a wheelchair. And then made to have to continue pay maintenance out of the same grant, mine only children. How them things could be right? How can't magistrates, and as I say, Shervon, I understand the salient point with family court and being trained into the issues that deals with the family and the welfare of the family. As a human being, you must have a conscience. I do not need to be a magistrate or need to be a master or a judge in a family court to know what is fair. If you are a magistrate, you would have been trained to some limitation of what fairness and justice look like. And on any ground, if you failed it, you should be removed. I don't know if the Chief Justice doesn't have the power to do it, but there must be some disciplinary committee, because the work of the magistrate, the judge, and the master is so significant in a society that we must ensure it is done in the most thorough way. That is where people come for redress, Shervon and Mac and listeners. That's where people come for relief. That is what has made people say, hey, let me not run out and pick up my blade and run outside and hit him 2-3 chop. Let me go in the court and see the court go get back my money for me. But if a fella or a person believe that going to the court is a waste of time because they will never side for me because of my gender or because what I've seen the court do to other persons, they will not see it as an alternative. The alternative would be here what? Kill somebody or live and die. And that is not the only alternative you want them to have.
For the listeners too who say, I see a lot of comments saying that the magistrate in Anson's case, they refer to as female. I don't recall what the magistrate was, but they're saying it because it's a woman. But I want to tell you all the example.
A man doing that.
The magistrate was a male, right?
Correct.
The magistrate in that case was a male. And that's why I say, I have seen what humans give, right? I see what humans give. In that particular case, Rondell, Amelia would have made filed a case at the family court for that case in Miami, and the lane judge in the family court would have thrown out that and everything else that followed it, right? And so I take your point, I ain't disagreeing with you at all. I ain't disagreeing with you, but my take is I see what humans give. I rather legislate the thing, put the thing in the right place. And because I see what human beings give, to me that will spare the type of conversations we've had to have on repeat over the years that we've had to have on repeat doing these things.
Correct. I mean, and I entirely endorse that. But I just, in my heart, would love to see some type of committee or some type of independent body that deals with these issues of persons who being unfair, who being partial, whether if it goes beyond the realm of just in the judiciary, persons who deal with people who they find in high office, public office, who corrupt, person who we find in high office who should not be there, like the Equal Opportunity Commission. You understand? That's something we're going to touch on today as well when we talk about what Dr. Gabrielle Hussein, who sat in a place at the Equal Opportunity Commission, and the way she went on a popular show, the Our View show that was popular very recently. And I heard one of the co-hosts, and I must commend that co-host, Sarah Jane Waddell, I think is her name. She started to say, hey, everything we're talking about is always women. But we're seeing men killing themselves in record numbers. We're seeing their education, their trajectory heading downward. And the doctors that was there, who is Dr. Gabrielle Hussein and another doctor friend of hers, they said that's practically the exact words as that's not our responsibility. And possibly the other doctor could have said that. I don't know what position she holds. But you cannot say that if you are Dr. Gabrielle Hussein and you are vice chair of the Equal Opportunities Commission. Because gender issues to you should mean issues men having, issues that women having as well. You are in a place where impartiality is required. Equal opportunity for all. Not so, Shervon?
Yeah, but you see, that is the thing, for years, when gender has been spoken about, it is automatically inferred or interpreted to mean that is women and girls, right? Hadn't it been for the advocacy by yourself and the association, right? This narrative that is slowly changing. I say slowly, right? Slowly changing. But that is what it has been. We have a ministry of gender, gender and child, well, not a ministry anymore, right? It's under the office of the Prime Minister now.
Prime Minister, yeah.
Right. But as we have said, what do you see being represented in there for men and boys? Every conversation, 99% of the conversation that come out of there is solely focused on things pertaining to women and girls.
Correct.
I mean, and we gave I think the last time I was here about a month ago, we gave kudos to the minister. Is Ayanna Webster, right? Is that
right?
Right? Because in a recent program they launched, where they were giving grants, I think, Rondell, to domestic violence victims,
right?
Businesses and so on. She said in there, men included. I nearly fall off my chair. Right? I was grateful, but I nearly fall off
Yeah,
my
but
chair.
you're shocked, yeah?
Yes, I'm shocked because we don't hear it. Right?
Mm.
We don't
Well, let me
hear
shock you again. They contacted us. They contacted me yesterday. I just didn't get a chance to tell you guys. And their intention, I believe, but I did hear them mention it before, is to form a men's bureau. Grenada has a men's bureau. So maybe it may have been possibly through some influence or some connectivity of the International Men's Day Forum we had in Grenada last year. I don't know where, but I mean, it can't be coincidental they get the same exact name. However, they're having a meeting and they invited us next week to this meeting. So most definitely, we're going to attend to this supposed men's bureau and see if it seeks to treat with the issues of men or if it seeks to make men what they want men to look like.
Correct.
Because it have that part of it too, right?
Yes, you have that too. And you
Correct.
have men who encouraging that foolishness as well too. Right?
Correct.
You know that. But we go back to say you don't hear it, Rondell.
Correct.
You don't
Correct.
hear it. When you talk about gender, it seems that men and boys are obsolete.
And
So
let me jump into how dangerous that is. The fact that and this possibly why the stats has gotten so bad now. The fact that we have blindsided males when it comes to gender issues. We've hidden statistics. I saying we hide it. You know why? Because we've gathered some and mentioned none. In some instances, we've had the opportunity also to gather some and failed so to do purposely. Even upon the advice from our association to gather information that these ministries, Ministry of Planning and these places that conducted surveys in and within our population, they chose not to do it. And that now has caused the decline silently of men. Because if you are not guided, then you have an issue. If every time, and this is why the nation is so sensitive to a woman being killed, because it is something that is put in the spotlight. It is something that they continue to talk about, continue to research, continue to look at, so that the nation generally has now a self-born sensitivity to the topic. Have we for 1 second looked at the statistic of men dying, of men being murdered? Do we know the numbers of men that are dying, the exact figure of men dying? You know, I always talk about that statistic, but let me really look at it, Shervon. You are talking about in 2023, 521 men, 525, sorry, murdered out of 575. And what they love to say to you is man kill them too. But I can tell you that in many a murder, it may be a man pulling the trigger, but plenty times somebody else make a phone call. Come out on the corner and meet me now. Somebody else take the gun, put it under the blouse, and carry it to the gunman. Somebody else who the police don't look for, just stash the gun and keep it in them house, who may not be a man as well. So, and they contributory to the murder of whoever ended up murdered, despite who pulled the trigger. Another thing they will say as well, why we shouldn't care the high number of men dying. I am certain they love to say it is because men are involved in gangs. It's them gangs that killing out each other. Shervon, do you know out of those men, those 525 men, 54% of them were not gang related in any way. 316 men murdered, no gang affiliation, no gang relation, whether it was robbery, whether it was killing, whether it was what. Those men, the higher percentage of men for the last 2 years that have been killed are men that are not affiliated in gangs. In 2022, 61% of the men murdered were not affiliated in gangs. That is 371 men. Out of the 550 that was murdered that year, out of the 605 people that was murdered, men are 90.7% for the last 2 years, the victims of murder. And I just showed you more than 50% of that 90.7% are men that are not affiliated in gangs. That is men like you and me, Shervon. That is men who not in no gang thing. A man running a place, robber, shoot a man, running the house, home invasion, kill the father, kill the son. And men are dying in such great numbers like that. But it sparks nothing. You have never seen end violence against man, end violence against men slogan anywhere. You haven't seen a bumper sticker anywhere. You haven't seen a billboard anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. We do all those things for the 9.7% of women that are murdered in our society. The 9.3%, sorry, women that are murdered in our society. But the men who are 90.7%, there's no signage, there's no instruction, there's no social strategy, and it's all because of the very same issue. We haven't highlighted the stats. We haven't focused on it. We haven't emphasized to the society how dangerous and vulnerable it is to be a man who is not related in any gang.
Is that deliberate, Rondell? I have to ask that question. Is it deliberate? Because they have the numbers.
Well, that is what I have to ask. That is what I have to ask. Is it deliberate? You should be fearful when you see that. If this number was reversed, Shervon, and it was 90.7% women getting killed, even if it was women killing them too, if we only have 9.3% women being killed, and we are so sensitive to when a woman is killed, why we don't care when a man get killed? I saw the instance with the father and the daughter, and I empathize. A man had to really be evil to pump bullets into a little baby girl. But nobody wasn't talking about the man get killed innocent too, you know. As if it was as heinous, you know. He don't deserve to dead. If the daughter didn't dead, she'd have dead, missing she father. Yeah. So why is this level of insensitivity towards men in our society? And it is because of that a magistrate could watch a man who is dying and tell him, go and find a work, I don't care, or make jail. It is because we have not created a spirit of sensitivity throughout our nation for our males. Mothers of boys should be frightened, Shervon. It means you're a father of boys. I am a father of boys. It means our sons, together with the girls of their time, our sons, Shervon, are 90.7% more likely to be murdered when they become men. And it means our sons. You understand?
Yeah. You're touching on murders. And we had suicides to that as well.
Yeah.
The last time we touched on suicide, I said that. I said I sit down. I have 2 boys and a girl. And I love them all. But I sit down and I look at my boys at night. And I wonder what is going on in their head, right? Because every time you hear these cases of suicides, and some of them very young children, and you hear the family say, boy, there was nothing that he showed that he was in any mental distress.
I think last week a young man killed himself.
Yeah. So I look at them and I wonder, I say, boy, I hope I'm doing this thing properly to navigate you through what you're facing like mentally, because some of the things happen inside that are good on the outside. They are very fearful, but it's true of them, but they are greater risk. And so when I hear, and I highlighted that back then, the Donna Cox, Minister Donna Cox, the Minister of Social Development and Family Services, and I said she gave a whole speech on suicide and suicide being a national crisis. But in the whole speech, she didn't mention once that males are at greater risk.
Wow. You
She
serious?
made it
I missed that one.
Yeah, she didn't mention it. Not
Wow.
once. She made it look as a nationally important issue, but not once. And I said, you know what is real damning about this thing? When we're talking about domestic violence, right? According to the stats, and we said it openly, the majority of victims of domestic violence on the stats are females, right? That escalate to that point. We make that clear. We publish it, we put it on banners, we have workshop up and down the place about it. But when it comes to an issue where males are the at risk in the issue, all of a sudden, it's a generalized conversation.
Correct.
All of a sudden, it's a generalized thing.
And the thing is too, Shervon, the numbers are so dangerously damning that if you don't mention them, Shervon, it could only be purposely. It could only be purposeful that you did not want people to know, because the figures are that bad. In 2022 and 2023, 246 people killed themselves, Shervon. 202 men out of that 246 people. 83% in the last 2 years, from 2019 to 2021. 259 men out of 326 people. 80% in 5 years. I'm giving only the stats as it is, In 5 years, we have had a total of about 570 people kill themselves, Shervon. 461 out of those 570 women. In the last 5 years, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 461 men killed themselves, 80.8%. Yet no social strategy. When every year, and it's not changing. It going up from the 80s and going higher. But because we have placed persons, as I was saying before, in areas where they should be concerned about gender issues. So how can Gabriel Hussein, who was the head of the IGDS Gender Studies in UE, who was the head and placed there to gather statistics on gender issues, say about a few weeks ago that male issues are no issues, not her responsibility? When you see in statistics like that, how could Donna Cox, the Honorable Minister, speak on suicide and not give the figures that I just give there to show how dangerous and bad it is? It means that this little young innocent boy, our sons, if the trajectory does not change, Shervon, they are 84% more likely to kill themselves than a girl their age. In your case, between your sons and your daughters, are more vulnerable. So how is it when there's vulnerability identified when dealing with the female gender, that social interventions and strategies and international organizations and international groups and corporate entities invest and finance to find themselves a project, a plan, to find themselves some kind of strategy to assist females going through issues, whether they say they are the greatest victims of domestic violence or gender-based violence or whatever. How they don't do the same one as men? Why they can't do it? And today I want to talk about something too, because Dr. Hussein said something that I think also during that show is part of the reasoning of why men and women cannot come together and support each other and say, hey, I see your vulnerability here, let me support you. Hey, I see your vulnerability there, let me support you. It was asked of her by her other learned doctor friend. I think they had a phrase saying, they made the suggestion that the phrase that you are your own, no, that a woman is her worst enemy. And they said this is a phrase that people use to belittle or berate or attack women. It was my understanding, however, that I have heard that phrase used quite loosely, carrying no specific gender. I have been told by teachers and other people, you are your worst enemy. You're doing something that actually you're shooting yourself in your own foot. Even the co-host that day, and I said I continue to commend the young lady, Sarah Jane Wendell, who was there and co-hosting. She said, I told my husband that just last week. So how could you come to say that that is a female persecution, statement of persecution? Anyway, Dr. Hussein then used that pitch to then make a statement. She then said that it was her belief that a woman's greatest enemy is anybody who harms a woman to the greatest extent they can be harmed. So she was implicating a woman's greatest enemy is someone who so forth killed a woman. I then had to ask myself if other women don't kill women also. Because she then made the statement that based on the fact that men kill women or men commit femicide more than anybody else, that men are the greatest enemies of women. And I still want to condemn that statement. In my view, she should be removed out of every single board. Because if she knew her statistic, and the thing is what dangerous about that, Shervon, and dangerous about that, Mark, Dr. Gabrielle Hussein is a data analyst. She held one of the highest positions when it comes to data at the IGDS. So anything she says pertaining to data, people will see it as the biblical truth. But if you examine what she says closely, you will see the folly in a lot of what she said. In 2022, Shervon, and 2023, in 2022, 18 men killed women. In 2023, well, 18 men were charged for the murder of women. In 2023, 19 men were charged for the murder of women. Now, when they say femicide, they make people think femicide only occurs due to intimate partner violence. That is the furthest from the truth. People just go inside granny house and slit your throat after. Robbery is the reason for that, not abuse. Brothers and sisters just kill each other for land. Land dispute is the issue for that, not abuse or intimate partner violence. So all those things are to be then subtracted from those, if you have to break down that number of 18 and 19. Are you telling me, even if we include them, the person who robbed Tanti and killer, even if we include the brother and the sister fighting for land, and it came up to 19 men in our society that killed women, is that a declaration that men generally are the greatest enemies of women? 19 men out of we possibly have men over 18 in the numbers of about 500,000 in our citizenry or more. Are you going to tell me that 19 out of 500,000 men means that men are the enemies, when out of that same 500,000 plus are the same men coming to find the 19, coming to bring the 19 to justice, coming to prosecute the 19, going to court, going to gather the statistics and the intelligence and the data to lock up the 19? Are you going to say that 19 men can make a declaration over a society of hundreds of thousands of men who get up every day, the men who go in and work on the highest tower, the men who go in and do the jobs that women don't want to do, like pick up garbage, the garbage man, the men who protect their wives, protect their children when the bandit coming inside the house of home invasion, the men that stand up and go to war, like in Ukraine, when they made a law that 18-year-old men and over could not leave. Only women and children could go. 18-year-old boys, because they still boys, could not leave because they had to fight, to die, to protect their state. 19 men, you will come and make a careless, non-factual statement to say that men are women's greatest enemy. I had a serious problem with that, Shervon, and I still have it today, because that could only be divisive. That could have only been done purposely, so that it would have inflamed women, it would have made them overly emotional, it would have gaslighted them to think that everywhere they turn is a man killing a woman. You want me to tell you something, Shervon? When we're looking at statistic, in 2020, you know who killed more women, or how the most women's life that was taken in 2022? Who took them? It was women themselves, and 2023. And it was to suicide. In 2022, when I just told you 19 men killed women, 18 men killed women, 19 women committed suicide and took their own life. In 2023, I told you, I'm going to give you the exact figure, I ain't mixing up nothing. In 2023, I told you 19 men killed women, 18 in 2022, 19 in 2023. 19 women committed suicide in 2022, and 25 women killed themselves in 2023. More women took their own lives than men killed women in those 2 years. So their lives didn't matter, Shervon. Their lives were insignificant. What about the women who killed women? The 4 women that killed women were charged for the murder of women in 2022, or the 1 woman charged in 2023. Those women's lives were insignificant too. Didn't they die also? Weren't they murdered also? So why the big highlight and beam on when it happens, when the man is the perpetrator, when really and truly, if she goes based on what she was saying on her declaration, where she declared that the greatest enemy of a woman is somebody who would harm a woman in the greatest extent, which is taking their life. You see in 2022 and 2023, women took their own lives in greater numbers than men killed women. Where's the cry for suicide amongst women? They wouldn't do that, even though they should do it. Because it shows that more women are actually taking their own lives than men are taking it. But if they highlight suicide, then they will have to highlight the bigger victim of suicide, who are men. So I want people of Trinidad and Tobago to be demystified. That's why I'm presenting these statistics, to show you how intentional they are to make women hate men, to make women fear men, to make women vengeful against men, to make women hateful against men by giving them false data or giving them no data at all and only giving them emotional ranting.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Shervon. I know I talk plenty.
No. I say false narratives as well. Because
Correct.
I saw, and let me take a couple minutes and address this. I saw the masses gather like a witch hunt back in the day against Sarah Jane Waddell. Now, I don't know Sarah. I don't know her at all, personally or otherwise. The first I've heard of her is when you posted that clip, when you shared that clip with us, right?
Right.
But what I found interesting is how the masses huddled to burn her at the stake. Because, as you said, of false narratives. So they're not only seeking to divide, and I'll put it this way, to divide the household and to divide the family, because that is what the family is made up of, a man and a woman. They're not just going to divide it, but they're saying any woman who don't agree with our false narratives, we go burn them down to the ground.
Correct. And I told Miss Waddell that because I spoke to her. I say if there's one thing they hate more than a man, it's a woman who don't agree with them. It's a woman who will stand up to them. And she stood up to them. And I saw them come off of the show hungry. I heard from the producers. I heard from people that were on the set. Let me not say producers, of the rage and fire that they had because of what she stood up for. They mocked the fact that she said that she was submissive to the roles that her God has given her. That is her. So it means they don't support women who are religious. For sure. Because they actually mocked her. Who gave you that role? God? That is what they said to her and laughed. So you can't say they are representative of women, particularly who observe a God.
Yeah. Yep.
So then who are they representative of? And why do women who have so many differences from them allow them to gaslight them? Our women have to wake up. Somebody cannot come. Shervon, you know it's 19 out of 500,000? That is not even close to 0.01%, boy. That is a 0.0000 percentage, which is far from 0.01%. And it may have more than 500,000 males in this country.
I went and get this for you. This is like shock at the minister I was telling you about here on suicide, right?
Right.
This is where she's speaking about stats in this speech. She said a March 2022 Loop TT article highlighted statistics from the Mental Health Unit of the Ministry of Health, which indicated an annual increase in the number of persons who died by suicide. Information provided by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service shows there were 75 suicides in 2018, 92 in 2019, 104 in 2020, 127 in 2021, 142 in 2022. And at the end of March 2023, 21. Disaggregated data from the TTPS shows an alarming trend. So I thought you're going here to speak about the gender disparity. Yeah. In 2018, 11 persons 60 years or older died by suicide. 2019, 15 persons 60 years or older. 2020, 26 persons, so she went on to disaggregated by age. And then went to say, ladies and gentlemen, this means we've lost 561 lives of suicide in TNT in just over 5 years. Right? Put another way from, and she got not 1 point, Rondell.
Especially when the stats so clear, right? Boy.
And that is what disturbed me so much about this speech, you know? When I read this speech, that is what disturbed me so much. As if it's one thing you cannot deny. You could fight about hiding all with all kind of that thing, right? You cannot deny the rate of suicides, the at-risk population for suicide is male, and how significant it's a worldwide issue, right?
And Shervon, that's exactly how they put out the. I remember that is exactly how they put out the stats with homelessness in Port of Spain too. What they did, they came and they gave numerical numbers, and they just focus on XYZ was here, XYZ in this part of Port of Spain, that part of Port of Spain. We had to put the statistics together to show the percentile, the percentage of men versus women. You telling me the ministry didn't do that already? You telling me the person the ministry don't know the percentage? That's why I said, Shervon, purposely hide. And that is why we are having an issue. That is why men are declining, becoming more homeless. But what they fail to realize, that a hopeless man is a dangerous man, you know.
But we're seeing it right now.
An ignorant young boy is a dangerous young boy, you know. So don't educate them now, man. Keep them out of the programs for ICT development, because there was statistic in the past that always say that boys were ahead. Only for the digital inclusion survey to say that boys in Trinidad behind girls. So if I didn't go on that board in the telecommunication authority, what would have happened? And when I don't ever want people to think I saying that I is a savior, I am saying that I am afraid. Because it means something happening somewhere else, and somebody putting their head down so, and allowing it to happen and saying nothing. One thing I just say in my life, that whenever my time comes for me to go, and many of you all who hold positions of power and fail to do something with the power you've been given, when you are on your deathbed, I hope your conscience don't send you mad, you know. I must be able to rest and say, Father Lord, I have done my best. I have walked the best. I have been honest. I have said all I have to say. People have hated me. They've called me misogynist. They've called me woman hater. All kind of thing. But I have said what is the truth and what needs to be said in my society, boy. I didn't cover it up because I feel this one go vex with me, or I feel that one ain't go like me, or because of who I is. At the end of the day, then nobody wouldn't come in my business and support me, and I'm afraid they go start a campaign against me. And you're right. Look at the things I just told you. Dr. Gabriel Hussein said, when other men in authority say things, they get those men out of power
Quickly.
The Asami thing, the mayor get fired. The prime minister said too.
No, I'm not going to tell you that. I was searching for something the other day and I stumbled upon that Asani situation where you were dealing with it as well. Put out a video on it. And I saw the comments and it reminded me of that. I said, look at that. When males talk out of turn or out of timing, as we like to say in Trinidad. Right? And I saw males jumping on the bandwagon.
Of course.
And males saying that, oh, he had no right to say that, and he shouldn't think, and he's shaming and victim shaming and victim
They're shaming and that shaming. And that's the thing. The prime minister, they did it with too. I was invited, I tell you, to the stream, big international Al Jazeera. They bring one male advocate to defend. You understand? About how the prime minister could say that, and how the prime minister could blame the women who have been killed and tell them to choose wiser. The prime minister wasn't talking to the women that would have died already. They're gone. He was speaking to people that were alive. Me and no PNM, me and no government supporter, but any man that says something that makes some kind of sense, why would disagree with it? I just tell men, choose wisely. That's your life mate, your soulmate. Our parents taught us that from small. Choose your friends wisely. You go choose your friends wisely and you go choose your lovers stupid.
Yep.
And it is because we become a society that is so highly sensitive, so highly gaslit, so highly inflamed by these same people that even when you are given advice, you are now become a stubborn, hard-headed, you're walking, you're blind with your eyes open.
But
because it's so easily gaslit.
Why isn't that And let me say hello to Ottoman, Jody, and others who are joining in here and commenting. You all feel free to leave your comments. You all can call.
Feel free to call too.
Right, the number is 222-8255. 222-8255. The toll-free number 866-525-1099. 866-525-1099. Or if you want a WhatsApp, it's 868-318-1021. Why was the same? Because let me tell you something. That go back to that Asami, that murder of that young lady.
Right.
Do you know who gave life to that movement for the mayor to be moved? Not just the organizations, the media, the media, Rondell Fields. And what Dr. Gabriel Hussein said was said on a major media network.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So why haven't the things that we have been saying as an association for the past years,
correct,
right? Why isn't that being highlighted in the media in the same manner that what the mayor said or what the prime minister said was venomously attacked in the media and given life in the media to continue for days and weeks and months?
Correctly said. Correctly said. And as you're saying, why isn't she held responsible for what she said? Because of the positions that she holds and held. You cannot be the head of gender studies where people will take anything you say as gold because you are a data analyst. Look at the numbers I give you of the men in society that harm women to the extent. It is not even 0.0, not close to 0.01% of our male population. You can never say that that small percentile means that men hate their women. When more men from the percentile that is greater come in the defense of women, come in the protection of women. When a woman lies in a house with her husband, when the bandit comes in, who you feel he want to kill first? The man he feel is the greater threat to him. They will kill your teenage son before they kill the mother. And that is the reality. They will kill your teenage son before they kill the woman. And that is the reality. Look at the number of men that have been killed who are not gang related. And it irks me that people love to just shirk that as nothing. You're talking about 316 men last year get killed and affiliated with nothing to do with gang. And nobody don't care about it. Then you have men as well saying, well, this man kill them. But I tell you and guarantee you, in every murder, that murder starts long before the man who pulls the trigger. Because most times the murder taking place with an illegal weapon. And it must be facilitated by somebody. It must be hid by somebody. Women who, oh gosh, we heard the late Papa Willie's wife talk when she came out of prison, talking to women. She said she would take the gun and carry it under she blouse because she know the police not stopping she. Why are we continuously burying our heads in sand, boy? Then praying for change. We praying for change, but we're not stating change. We're not trying to change. We're not saying the things we need to say. That is for the spiritual people too. That is for the pastors too. That is for the pundit, the imam, the everybody. Some of the things we saying here is for the men who are supposed to be spiritual to be saying. But they're afraid too.
Yeah.
The politician afraid. So this, and this is what is so concerning about the feminist movement. Because they get their way through installation of fear of those who fear them. Yes, for sure, you know how you fear them. But at the end of the day, those who they feel or realize care so much about their image. They know that they could put that under attack, whether it is false narrative, and they will not be held accountable, so they go to do it. They tried it with Sarah Jane Waddell after as well, because she stood up to them. You know the petition they come and put out on the girl after?
Yeah.
About she believes she white and she could talk to an African and an East. They make it into a whole race thing. Before race, they make it into a whole superiority thing that they are doctors. You understand? The person, the anonymous person who started the petition is saying, how could CNC3 have this host speak to the doctors in that kind of way? These doctors who are so learned. Doctors coming there and making us assumptions with no data backing, that based on the number of men that kill women, it is evident that men are women's greatest enemies. A percentile of 0.0000 something could never be evidence of men hating women.
And as you said, then mocking the young lady's beliefs. And
exactly, mocking a spiritual belief as well.
So again, it goes back, is that if you're not in my pack, we will eat you, right?
Correct.
But I want to say, I see Leno, you're here still, thankfully, right? Thanks for your comments and for engaging with us. To all the women here who are listening and who will be listening at some point in time to us, you, just as Sarah Jane Waddell stood up and spoke the truth, you do the same. Right? You hold fast to your convictions, because they are after chaos. I'm saying this openly. I said it before and I'll keep saying it. They want to destroy families and they want to destroy homes. Right? The chaos you see in this land right now, they somehow reaping the benefits from it. I don't know how. But common sense will tell you to set a man and woman at odds with each other, who are supposed to be rulers of our home and overseers of their family, and both have roles in which to fulfill in raising productive young men and young women and putting them out into society, right? They want that destroyed.
Correct.
Well, they mock the young lady, they mock her beliefs. Who is your God? And your God tell you that what we are saying, we come out here openly all the time and we say, men, respect your woman and love your woman.
Correct.
Right? Respect your wife and love your wife. Right? And this had nothing to do with a woman cooking and clean, had nothing to do with them foolishness.
Correct.
Nothing to do with them things. We support women who want to work and champion careers. And we support women who want to be housewives. And we support men who have careers and men who are housewives as well. There's a gentleman that we'll bring on the program. I reached out to him. We'll bring him on in the future, near future. He's a house. He's a house husband. Right?
Could have plenty men like now. Right? Have plenty men leaving their jobs and going abroad with their wife who's nurses. Yes. Plenty.
Right? And so we'll bring him on and his wife, hopefully, we'll bring on the program to talk about the dynamic.
Brilliant.
Right? We are supportive of families. We are supportive. We say even when families separate, we still support good communication. And good relationship and benefit of your children. But listen to what these people are promoting and tell me if you see love inside it. Tell me if you see peace inside it. Tell me if you see productivity inside it. Unity. Tell me if you find those themes in the messages that they put out there. It's nothing hate and the vision in the things that they see.
Correct, Shervon. And I just want people to wisen up, boy. You see, we're seeing things. I'm not sure if they're paying attention to it as well. A lot of the issues that we having in family, a lot of the issues we having in society, a lot of the issues we having in crime, going straight back to these things, to these divisions that being wedged by members of social society that claim to be advocate champions for championing what they want to champion. We are not examining these things carefully, boy. We're not seeing it. Why will your message always speak to competition? Why it never speaks to complementing each other? It always, they will say the words, work together. And but really and truly, their narrative or their points that they're making are always about competitive. At times, their tongue slipped in that same interview and talking about want to be on top. Where's that coming from? You understand? Where's that coming from? And that is why we need our women to start desensitizing themselves, desensitizing their sister folks, desensitizing their daughters into this spirit or this insertion or artificial insemination, I could say, of hate towards men that was planted over the last decade and is now bearing fruit. Many of it on false narrative, false data. If they really talk, look at the data I just show you. If they're really concerned about persons who take the lives of women, they would have started to deal with women who commit suicide, because more women are taking their lives than men are even killing them yearly, based on the statistic. But no talk about that. Look, young girls are getting involved in gangs. That much of the police killing them. Police-involved shootings are involving young girls in them now. Gangs are killing girls now because they are members of gangs. These feminists only have one narrative. Men hate women. Don't like them because they hate you. They don't even truly empower women. Their empowerment is only economic. Nothing to do with social. And that is why they are so disconnected from the woman on the ground. That is why they're so disconnected from the woman with the religious belief. That is why it's so disconnected from the woman who chooses to be a housewife. That is why they are so disconnected to any woman that does not see things the way that they see it. And it's time for women to call those women out. You think we as an organization and we men would see men rising up and speaking a false narrative about men towards women and not silence it? And that is what women have to find their bosom to be able to do as well. Because I do not believe, Shervon, that those women are any majority, you know. But they position themselves in places of superiority so as to try to dominate the woman that they see lesser than themselves. I do not know if some persons who've been a part of the feminist move so much have studied the thing they've created called patriarchy so much that they've now started to emulate some of the characteristics they've attributed to patriarchy. Look at it. You don't disagree, you disagree with them, they come to deal with you. You give a perspective where you are giving advice that might be sensible and they don't agree with it, they come out to socially victimize you. You have a belief in God, they come out to vilify you or ridicule you or berate you. Those are things that sound abusive to me. Those are things that sound toxic, a word that they love as well. Is that toxic femininity? Is that how it looks? Is it toxic feminism? What do you call that? But it is something that is a problem, Shervon. And it is something that we need our women folk to wake up. And all this ties back to the main thing we've been speaking about with Anson. You know? It is because there's this level of divide. It is because this level of impregnation into the society of men hate women and men are dangerous to women and men are more dangerous and safe for women. That when women find places of authority, they take advantage of men under them. So it becomes a power struggle. Even in the homes, when the wife starts to make more money, she no longer have respect for her husband again. She don't need to in her eyes. Not seeing that is not her financial or his financial contribution that possibly makes him the man, but it is what he provides, which is his protection. A bandit running your house, them don't care you is a banker or lawyer and he's a mason, no. he becomes the protector. And he is the one, based on the love he is to have for you, is to make himself ready to die to protect you. And that is what you base on why I should have some level of respect for this man. And this is why they've made all conversations so uncomfortable for families. And they've put it in the public space so that even women who are religious and even women who have their beliefs of coexistence with their husbands are now doubting some of their beliefs.
And when they're in doubt, they're afraid to speak up. So
Correct.
they're quiet. They will be in the room, but they're quiet. They're afraid to say anything. Right?
I just, but you know, we just say pray for women. I pray for we women too, brother. I pray that they are desensitized, they decoded.
Yeah.
That there are barriers that they have some level of discernment to know those who are genuine and those who are disingenuous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is causing a level of decay when it comes to the family life. And as you know, once the family life decays, then the community decays. And when the community decays, the nation decays.
Yeah. But I wanted, if we just have about 15 minutes again, and I want
Let's
to
go.
read some points back on Anson again, where we spoke in the past about overhauling this whole maintenance process. Right? And to put out there again to our leaders, the points that we've made. Number one, as we said in the past, where maintenance is to be ordered, paternity tests should be mandatory, first and foremost.
Amen.
Right? That is the first thing. Because as the law stands, there's a consequence which is taking away your liberty, your freedom. That should not be held lightly. Right? Our freedom is something that is constitutionally it's enshrined in the Constitution. Our right to life and liberty and all of those things. So if it's going to be removed, we should ensure that all of the necessary steps are in there to certify, so to say, that this is indeed the father of the child, because we have seen cases right here in Trinidad and Tobago where men have gone to jail on maintenance warrants, and it is discovered that not one, but the 2 children time is not theirs.
It's not this. Correct.
Right?
No reprimand after that.
Yeah, and no reprimand. There must be paternity testing. The second thing, we have seen it before, the way in which maintenance is how do they come up with it?
A test.
Right? The test, the litmus test for what is to be, because again, we've seen men come to us, and we have seen a man come there, a 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
No special needs, no nothing. This is a normal 3-year-old child. And the maintenance is $2,000 a month or something. Not $2,000 a month. What was it? By some ridiculous figure. More than that.
But to me, 2,000 is ridiculous, because if you have to contribute to and the mother too, that's 4,000.
Right. Yes. And that's always $2,500 a month. And we were saying that if they both contribute, we said that time, we said, but if both are contributing, the 3-year-old child taking $5,000 a month, and that is not somebody goes to, but that is school fees. No, that is not kindergarten fees and trans. That is just maintenance. Right? What is the litmus test for that? What is the test that you come up to that figure?
Correct.
And we've also advocated that if shared parenting is used, then this whole conversation about maintenance will disappear en masse.
It's irrelevant. Correct again.
Right?
Correct.
Where it is, and there's substance for this already working, because we made a reference to an article by the National Center of State Courts that highlighted a court in Michigan where they would, when there's non-compliance, the start of non-compliance, they would call and they would reach out to the parents and say what is going on.
Correct.
they have a field officer, or officer specially designated to oversee this thing. So they say, what is going on? This person unemployed? All right, let me see how we can help you with employment. Let me see if we can connect with the agencies to help you with employment.
Correct.
Rather than just saying, well, this year the thing, you're not paying, warrant.
You'll get locked up.
You'll get locked up. Because
I just want to interject for a second there. Because that goes to show we don't care about the maintenance of the child. We don't care. We are more concerned to let it up. We are so apathetic, I should say, that our system says let him pay, and if he can't pay, let it accrue, and we go jail him. Opposed to doing as you are saying, having things in the stopgap so that it will trigger as to say, hey, why this child not going and get money this week? Has something changed? Is somebody sick? Is somebody unemployed? Is somebody negligent? But we are unconcerned with that because our system is not solution driven, and it doesn't even know the solution it's seeking after as well.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That is why the issue is, and the solution is supposed to be seeking after is to make sure the child is fed and taken care of.
And on that point, if you have interjected yourself in the situation, you be in the court, then you need to ensure that the money you are collecting is actually going towards the well-being of the child.
Correctly so.
Right?
And
because
I have cases
that has many cases, Rondell, where that doesn't happen.
Correct.
And again, what is the recourse? The man has to come back to court. What is the recourse?
Correct. And what they would say is that they are Section 30. And Section 30, if you believe that she isn't spending any money or in the manner in the way they should be spending, you ought to bring it and bring that. But with what evidence? If the man
come back to court.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With what evidence can he do so? If you don't have him and who in a system where her contribution is identifiable as well.
Mm-hmm.
And while for years, remember that's where we started.
And while I'm waiting for a date to come back to court, I have to pay my maintenance still, right? Otherwise, I'll get locked up.
Correct. So that is the thing. That is the problem and the issues that we have. And then the other point that you're going to is the issue of persons who, after they have had orders, before they were disabled, end up getting sick, become disabled, become incapacitated.
If you have that stopgap, as we discussed in there, it will never get there. Because the minute I default and you reach out to me and say, what is going on, pal? And I tell you, boy, you know, XYZ is the case. Whether it's permanent, temporary, whatever it is, life happens. I can then start to take the next steps with you. Right? I'm not wait till you are arrested and brought before the court and say, well, yeah, what's going on now? You know, I disabled. No. There are people who do not understand what to do when they get in these situations.
Shervon, that is most people.
We would say we talk, and the court will say they give out information, but not everybody get the information. People, listen, we would assume that everybody consuming the information we put out there. Rondell, how much time you and I just have to answer the same question? 5,000
over and over. You understand? And people don't understand, and that's one of the reasons I don't even like to hear family court. Just the word court frightens people to enter into it for anything else than judicial relief. A judgment, I mean.
Yeah.
Because of the word court. When a man hear court, he don't want to go. He thinking win, lose, thinking lock up, thinking embarrassment, thinking shame. And that is one of the reasons I strongly believe it has never been fostered in a place that like is a family center where we could work together. That is this, and we come into a solution, we solution driven. It is a place that is a court. So many people just afraid to go to get information. They may look on the website now, thank God the technology, and see what they see. They may look for single fathers association to tell them because it's an outsource that they trust and feel would be confidential. They will also If they have a police partner, they can ask them. If they have a lawyer, they will go to a lawyer just to avoid possibly going to court to get any information. And sometimes if they just did that, somebody in the administration right there could advise them. So, as you said, I think this whole thing as we wrap up needs an overhaul, needs perfect consideration, where we have a great determination as what is our end result. What do we want from this system in what we call in family court, or what we call in family whatever, even if we change the name? What do we want it to bring about? Is it a space that we want to bring people to a place of co-parenting who cannot coexist anymore, but at least to bring them to a co-parental relationship? Is that our modus operandi, or is it just for us to give judgment left, right, and center? What is it? What is our real goal? The goal can't just be for the children, as they say. The goal must be for the parents, for it to benefit the children also. So there must be a goal for parenting too.
And not
because we could say we're in the best interest of the child how much we want, but if we can't get the parents to parent efficiently, nothing will ever be in the best interest of the child.
And I just want to add to that point you're making. Not a side swipe the good attorneys we know, like Amelia,
correct,
and Kirby Joseph and so on.
Correct.
But we can't have attorneys inside that family court playing strategy game with people's life.
Correct.
Understand?
Okay, man.
We can't have them in the playing with people's life. As you said earlier, the family is too important to our society to have incompetent judicial officers.
Correct.
And greedy attorneys.
Correct.
Right? Greedy and self-serving attorneys. We can't have that.
Correct. Because if they don't want money, they want the reputation.
Yeah. We can't have that.
Correct. Correct. Okay. Totally.
I will give my closing words and I'll leave the rest for you, Rondell. We have 4 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Honorable Prime Minister, I hope you hear this some way, somehow. Right? We've reached out to the Honorable Attorney General, and we ain't get a hearing as yet. You are the head of the cabinet. So we're calling on you. We are appealing to you. We reach this stage now, we are appealing to you to intervene and direct your charges to settle on so that we can work out some solutions to what have impacting families in Trinidad and Tobago. Honorable Keith Scotland, we hear your message, and we reply to you. Right? We gladly acknowledge father's important. Let your colleagues know so as well that father's important, so probably we have to sit down with those guys to talk about it. I have to use Mr. Anson words from his for the interview you posted with him. He said, I just want somebody to listen.
Wow.
That is what we're asking, We just want somebody to listen. Right? We just want somebody to listen. Rondell?
Correct. But you have addressed the heads of state. But I want to address these people that make up the country and make up the society. We have to know for ourselves what we want for ourselves. We have to have a clear-cut direction of where we want to go as a society. Do we want to go forth in our society as a nation of men and women combating? Or do we want to go forth in our society as a nation of men and women united? We must want to know what we want for ourselves as a people. Because if we don't know what we want for ourselves, people will come from anywhere and feed us any theory for us to go with. How can you not know what you want for yourself and then take on a position in this election year and say, I am going to vote for this man? What is going to be your determining factor? He looks like me when I put on the television. He's my age. He's my gender. Are this or these things the basis? Is he my race? Is that going to be your determining factor yet again for the 100th time? I don't care if you are going to vote for the first time. I don't care if you have voted and you're now 80. Now is the time for you to think about your life, about your society, about if you are fearful to be in your spaces, about the direction of the youth in the community, about the direction of all these things around you. I continue to lament with people in this time and throughout the entire election year. I am continuously going to call on you so to do. If it's one time you should wipe your slate clean of all mental biases now and start looking at everybody. Start looking at, I'm not telling you don't vote, but start looking at everybody. Start looking at what they bring into the table, how it's going to benefit your life. Your social life is part of your life as well. Yes, your economy is a very critical part. Your economical advantages and your economical development as a nation and your opportunity to earn and your access to grants and all these things. But when you're dealing about your social life, it is your right to enjoy your space to live. That is important. You have the right to enjoy certain ideologies within your society. These are things that are going to be very pertinent. The right for certain things to stay and certain things to not stay. These are decisions that you must take at heart, take in mind. See the value of your vote. See the value, I beg of you. I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who's going to lose. But see the value of your vote to something more than some diverse similarity that you have with somebody else. So Trinidad and Tobago, I am Rondell Fields, here with Shervon Williams, and here with David McIntyre. We are signing off again from another afternoon of hard talk. Hoping that what we said did resonate with you in some way, form, or fashion, and looking forward to seeing you next week again. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Have a good Independence.
Fantastic program. And I want to thank all the people who commented, especially Leno Air. She said, thank you, gentlemen. Great program.
Thank you, Leno.
Thank you.
Take care, all. David, take care.
Yes,
Happy Independence, everybody.
Yes, enjoy the Independence weekend. That's the Fathers Association for Hard Talk Power 102 Digital Friday. They'll be back next Friday from 4:15 till 6 in the afternoon.